Good morning, everyone. Today we are going to study an important topic, that is cell injury adaptation, right? And that is the one which we are going to study in this section. See, we have been there, right? At least once in a lifetime, we have been there. We have seen the worst of it. Yes, I'm talking about accidents. Accidents are something which should never happen to anyone, right? And they are very terrible, and there is a very huge process involved in it, right? Even if you're not injured, your bike can get damaged, your car can get damaged, so you have to take it to the right service center. You have to claim the insurance. These guys will come, they will change the parts, and sometimes it is something which you cannot just reverse it, right? Something it's not reversible. You have to just dispose of your bike, right? If it is like the damage is very huge. And but what if I tell you there is a bike or a car which does everything on its own, right? You don't have to do anything. It will go to the service center on its own, it will get repaired on its own, it will come back, and then if it is right very injured and you cannot do anything, it will dispose of also itself, right? So that is a very good bike or car, right? Yes, I'm talking about our human body. Here, see, whenever we experience an injury, right, it can be reversible. I mean, it will come back to normal. That is adaptation if it is possible. But if it is irreversible, right, I mean, if there is a very huge damage and you cannot just reverse it, then also it will dispose of itself on its own. That is, it will undergo necrosis or apoptosis. Apoptosis is suicide, right? Necrosis is a death. We'll study about that in the next section. So first, let's study about the adaptation. So adaptation, right? So see, whenever we are under stress, right? I mean, talking about a mild injury or something, we are under stress, right? Basically, it's a stress for the body, not in the mental stress kind of thing, but stress kind of body, right? So whenever you are having stress, let's think of our mental stress itself, right? For example, you are being bullied in your school, right? You are being bullied. So adaptation for that, what you can do is that, see, you are going to the gym, right? Becoming all pahelwan and everything, building your muscles, thinking that one day you will get your revenge, right? That is hypertrophy, basically increasing the size. Or also one more thing which you can do is you can call all your friends, right? Your friends from your school days, everywhere you are recruiting gundas and everyone to beat him up, right? That is the hyperplasia, that is to increase in number. And the third thing, this is the best thing which I recommend, that is metaplasia. Metaplasia is something that is stem cell reprogramming. That means you're going to forgive the person and move forward, right? And never let it bother you. You're becoming like Gautam Buddha, right? Very cool guy. So that is the stem cell reprogramming. Basically, you are changing yourself from within, right? We'll study about that. But sometimes what happens, this stress will be too much for us, right? And I mean, we cannot just deal with it. In that conditions, there will be decrease in the size and number, which is called as atrophy, right? We are very sad over here. No worries, right? So these are all the adaptation mechanisms which you can see whenever a cell is under stress. So let's study the hypertrophy first, right? So let's look at this hypertrophy. Hypertrophy, right? Increase in the size, it can be physiological, that is normal, it can happen with everyone, right? And pathological. So we'll study the exercise which I told you, right? So you're developing your muscles, right? That is the muscles which is seeing, that is right, muscles, that is physiological type, that is hypertrophy. And also during exercise, your cardiac muscles, right? These cardiac muscles will also get hypertrophied. But the cardiac muscles are hypertrophied in hypertension itself, right? So see, this guy is very angry, but that is pathological type of hypertrophy. Other than that, in physiological, see, all these are like, right, athletes, right? You are thinking about male guy, right? Working out very hard, right? And he's very angry. When it comes to, right, females, the two other points which you have to memorize, that is the uterus and the breast. Remember, uterus and the breast can undergo both hypertrophy and hyperplasia, right? But if you ask me what is the better answer, for uterus, I'll go with hypertrophy. For breast, remember, in puberty and pregnancy, right, both hypertrophy and hyperplasia will occur. But in case of lactation, it's only hypertrophy. Remember, there is no increase in number, only hypertrophy when it comes to lactation. So that is the first thing which can happen in case of a cell stress, that is hypertrophy. And after that, coming to hypoplasia. So hyperplasia, as I told you earlier, it is increasing in the number, right? You're going to increase in the number, and as I told you, it can occur also in the uterus and the breast. That is physiological. Pathological, let's think of some diseases which has hyperplasia in its name. In female conditions, we have endometrial hyperplasia. Yeah, the name is there, it tells for itself, right? Similarly, in males, we have benign prostatic hyperplasia, right? The name is there, so it tells for itself. That is the benign prostatic hyperplasia. After hyperplasia, coming to metaplasia, the cool one, right? The cool guy, which I told you, that is whenever there's a chronic irritation, right? You are getting exposed to a chronic stress, right? Someone is keep on bullying you, and you cannot do anything about it. Then you change yourself, right? You become changed person. That is a chronic irritation result in stem cell reprogramming. And the most common which you have, that is the epithelial connective tissue. Also, we have an example, that is myositis ossificans. Basically, there is a bone formation in muscles, right? Muscle is a muscle, right? But sometimes under chronic stress, it can change itself into a bone. It is strong now, right? Bone, strong. Next, the epithelial, we have squamous and columnar, right? And so everyone wants to become like water, right? I mean, that is what is all about meditation, right? I will become like water, the simplest form, right? You're making your mind simple rather than complicating it. So remember squamous, the simple type. That is the most common type. And sometimes it has to become a bit hard, right? That is the Barrett's esophagus. It's a squamous will become columnar. We'll study about that. This is the only example of columnar type of metaplasia. So squamous, where are the places where they will undergo this squamous change, right? So if at all in the lungs there is a chronic irritation, like vitamin A deficiency, see the blind guy not able to see, right? So basically vitamin A deficiency and smoking, right? In these two conditions, that lungs will undergo metaplasia. And next we have the gallbladder over here, pancreas over here, and the urinary bladder over here, right? So all these stones, whenever stones are there, they are under chronic irritation. Also there is a worm which you can see over here attached to the urinary bladder, that is nothing but the schistosomiasis. That will also cause chronic irritation in the urinary bladder. And here is the endocervix, and this guy is the virus which I am talking about, that is the HPV virus, right? Human papilloma virus, which is going to cause chronic irritation to the endocervix. Next, the Barrett esophagus, the famous one, the only example of columnar type of metaplasia. See, normally in the esophagus there are squamous cells, but right in the stomach, right, we have the columnar cells, right? These are the columnar cells which you can see. But these acid, when it gets reflex outside, right, the squamous cells, they cannot handle the acid, right? They're the cootie guys, so they start crying over here, right? And slowly they'll become the adopted to it, right? Cell reprogramming, and they'll change themselves into goblet cells, right? Goblet sounds very right hard, and someone who can handle stress, right? So there is goblet cells. Remember goblet cells, right? Mucus producing cells. These are only present in the intestitium, right? I mean intestine. So basically that is called as intestinal metaplasia. And this is the hallmark feature of Barrett esophagus. So if you see this, you are definite that it is Barrett's esophagus. And this can be stained, right? It can be stained with the, not Alsatian, but this is Alcian blue, right? This can be stained with Alcian blue. So just to know. And so basically, see, you can see squamous under chronic irritation became columnar, right? That is for Barrett. I am talking about when there is another chronic irritation, he'll become dysplasia, right? He is displeased, right? Dysplasia. And under chronic irritation, now he is going to revolt back, right? So that is carcinoma or malignancy, that is adenocarcinoma. Finally, lastly, coming to atrophy. Atrophy, I mean, I told you, right? I mean, even though it is mild, you are not able to handle it. So most common is there is mild ischemia or mild hypoxia. Remember, the hypoxia word is very important over here. So when there is no oxygen, you will not have any ATP, right? So ATP is not present over here. So ATP is not present, so that will decrease the Na plus K plus ATPase pump. So basically what it does is that it is going to pump sodium outside and take potassium inside, right? Against the gradient it is working, that is with the help of ATP. But when that is not happening, sodium is going to increase, right? You're going to become salty, right? Sodium is going to increase in your cell, and when that happens, all the ECF because of osmosis will going to come in, and there will be cell swelling. Also, that is about the right cell in general from outside when you're seeing it. Because of right anaerobic respiration which you are having, the lactic acid is increased. So pH will decrease. That will also result in chromatin condensation. That is, the nucleus will become very, very cutie small, right? So the cell swelling in light microscopy, how you are going to see that is cell swelling will be there, right? And because of the swelling, there will be something called as cloudy swelling, called as hydropic change, right? So this is the normal cell, and this is the right cell which has undergone this atrophy. So this is how it will get, right? If you will see this, what is this yellow things? These are the fat. How is fat formed? We'll study about that, right? And the chromatin condensation, everything is there. And the cell, it has increased in size. That is what is mainly seen in light microscopy. So you need a better microscope now, right? So we'll go with the electron microscopy. In the electron microscopy, see, this is a normal cell. It will get changed into what? What is this? Monster? Right, see, it's big, but it's not a monster. See, what happens is that there will be a loss of microvilli, right? All the microvilli become small over here. Here, see, they are very big. There will be a loss of microvilli, and in order to accommodate a space, right, accommodate the, since the cell is becoming very, very big, in order to accommodate that, there will be bleb formations everywhere, right? So you can see this cytoplasmic membrane bleb formation, which you can see, and the chromatin has condensed, as I told you earlier, and these organelles, they have swollen up. They become big, right? So for example, we have the endoplasmic reticulum, mitochondria. These are everything becoming big because kind of think of like osmosis, right? They're getting in the water and they're becoming big. And whenever this endoplasmic reticulum swelling occurs, it cannot do its function, right? So there'll be ribosomal detachment. So when ribosomes are not there, you know the ribosomes are the constructors, right? The ones that make the proteins. So that will be decreased. So when there are no proteins, so we need energy from somewhere, right? So we are going to breaking down triglycerides to make free fatty acids, right? Fatty change. That is what is seen over here, right? So that is a fatty change which we are talking about. So that is in general, right, about atrophy. So in this section, necrosis, will study that in the next section. So in this section, what we have studied about is the cell adaptation, right? If the injury is reversible, then we are going to adopt it. If it is irreversible, then it is going to die, right? Necrosis or apoptosis. And the cell adaptation, under stress, it can undergo hypertrophy, hyperplasia, metaplasia, and atrophy. That is what we have studied. We have studied the examples of hypertrophy, hyperplasia, metaplasia, where it occurs. Most common, remember, squamous, right? And we have studied about the Barrett esophagus. And next, finally, the atrophy, where we are not able to handle even the mild stress, right? Mild hypoxia. So this is something which happens. So that completes our first section, right, on cell adaptation. Thank you.